Robert Kraft over the weekend with an early Valentine for Mac Jones. How does that make you feel, Shime? He's delighted with the development. Has a lot of confidence in the development of Mac Jones.
Yeah, I mean, he's been saying this all along. He was excited when they drafted Mac Jones. He said this last summer prior to the season before seeing how bad Mac Jones was going to be this year. Like, it screams to me all across the board that Robert Kraft wanted Mac Jones when they drafted him in the first place.
Yeah,
like, of course Robert Kraft wanted him.
Wiggy's been saying that for a while.
Because every time we've heard that is great audio by Robert Kraft, but when you hear from Bill Belichick, or I think there was something, didn't Billy O'Brien was asked about Mac Jones, and the audio isn't the same way. So I would lean more towards the guys that are coaching than the guy that's the owner of the team.
The guy that's writing the check?
Yeah, because it's...
I don't think so.
It seems like at this point in time that he's like, Bill, it's your team. Do what you need to do.
I mean, Wiggy's kind of right. Last year, Kraft was obviously unhappy. After week one, he made those comments to Tom Curran about wanting Kendrick Bourne in the offense, the game plan. He didn't change anything the whole year. Right. So, I mean, but I do think on a day where we have to praise Ken because he is my Valentine and Northeastern won the Beanpot, he said at the beginning that the video that they released from the Patriots website of the drafting of Mac Jones seemed rehearsed. And more, I think he's right, that Kraft wants Mac Jones, and he's pressuring Bill to play him. And that last year, the Zappy stuff might have been more about the struggle inside those walls than the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because you think of this, right? Did Kraft go to Bill and say, you need to take a quarterback at 15? 2 years ago when they drafted Mac.
Yeah.
And maybe Bill was kind of pushing it like, no, I'd rather go here, I'd rather go. And Robert's like, no, we need a plan. And so even though Bill drafted him, was his first, inkling to draft another position. No different to remember when Parcells drafted Terry Glenn and he didn't really want to draft him. So it seemed like maybe Kraft's influence made Bill kind of go down that road.
Well, then that must have come up in the end of the season meeting that Kraft said he had with Bill. Wasn't that reported that he said, when he doesn't like how a season goes, he and Bill have a sit-down meeting, and that was the case for the season? So if that happened and Kraft says, I don't like how this season went, well, then Bill should look back at him and say, well, you forced me to take this guy when maybe I didn't want to.
He probably did, because how come there's been nothing from Bill, and we've seen it with other teams, that Mac's our guy, that he's our guy, we can't wait to get him back on, like this coming from Bill, right?
Yeah.
Well, you see other coaches do it all the time, like this is our guy. Why haven't we seen, or why haven't we heard that?
I mean, listen, we spend hours reading into everything, so I guess I would just ask, when you hear Robert Kraft say that this weekend, very specifically, his positive feelings about Mac Jones, do you read into that there will be no interest in, you name the player, you want Lamar Jackson or, Aaron Rodgers or, for that matter, Jimmy Garoppolo? Do you read into that, that organizationally Mac is the guy this upcoming season?
I do a little bit, but okay. I also,
that's like the nail in the coffin for you.
Yeah.
Like Robert Kraft saying, developmentally, that's our guy, and we like the direction that Mac is going.
Well, the nail in the coffin, like, that was like the nail was already in the coffin. That was like the lock they put on the coffin. The nail in the coffin for me is when Bill said, we've been 27th in the league spending money the last 3 years. That led me to believe that Robert says, here's how much I want you to spend, Bill. You're not going above and beyond that when it comes to specific positions, i.e. quarterback.
Now, we can argue this. 617 text on the Subaru of New England text line. You can find your authorized Subaru retailer at SubaruofNewEngland.com. Robert Kraft is not in the business of trashing any players. Never heard him trash a Patriot. You're way off base.
I really wonder if that's sent with some tongue in cheek, but Robert Kraft was asked about Tom Brady, and he brought up Mac Jones.
Yes.
It was not a question where he was asked to trash his quarterback. No. He was on the network on Fox Business with Neil Cavuto to discuss Tom Brady, because now Robert Kraft loves talking about Tom Brady. So this was not a situation where he felt compelled to defend a player.
No, he went out of his way to effusively praise the kid.
Right. Because he knows that what we all see, and I think he's probably knowing what he has from Bill. Like Bill probably saying, this isn't our guy. Do you think now that we've kind of started to see?
By the way, I'm not sure that Bill is saying this isn't our guy. I know that's what you and Shime want.
So why isn't he saying this is our guy?
Because for whatever reason, he's chosen. He thinks it's better for the player for him to not anoint him to be the next Tom Brady.
When has it ever been better for any quarterback to do that?
Right.
I don't know. I think he treated Tom Brady that way.
No, he used to
didn't.
laugh at that question and be like, okay, yeah, guys, next question. And when it was Cam Newton, it was Cam's our guy.
He even said it about Matt Castle, who stunk.
Yeah. So and that's why I think that, and I think that the thing that we're kind of blowing through the stop sign is when Bill says, "Hey, we've been 27th in the league in spending." That then goes to the quarterback situation. And then there was the time where I think Robert Kraft before said, well, I don't want to spend 20% of the cap on one position, the quarterback position. So now that you know this stuff, even if we know Aaron Rodgers is available and Lamar Jackson's probably available, do you think it's more Robert doesn't want to spend the money or Bill? Because I'm starting to lean towards Robert.
We don't know Aaron Rodgers is available until the darkness retreat is over.
Right.
All right.
Okay, and that's been pushed to Thursday.
Right. He gets to get the enema first.
Well, there's a good chance.
You get a better deal over the weekend, I think.
Right. It's a Groupon.
Waiting for the supply of ayahuasca to arrive.
But who are you leaning towards now? Because everybody blamed Bill. Bill don't want to spend money. Bill don't want to spend money. Bill
Who
don't
am I
want
leaning towards about what?
about where the money, like who's really not wanting to spend money. Is it Robert or Bill?
I think it's Robert.
And that's the way I look at it. And even with the whole Brady situation, I think Robert was like, here's as far as we're willing to go, Tom.
And what is best for this year, Greg, I really believe this is what's going to happen. They need to fully invest in Mac when it comes to talent around him and coaches that work with him. And you have a year where, worst case scenario, you build up his value and trade him for something at a point where his value across the league is higher, because right now doing something to get rid of him would be pissing away an asset. And that would be not at all what this team does. So what is the smart thing to do is do what Tua did, do what the Dolphins did for Tua last year, this year with Mac, understand what you have, either then see that he's your guy or move on from him when he's at a higher point than he is right now.
And certainly it would be nice for Bill if it's what Mac Jones needs to express some confidence in him publicly.
But Bill can't do that because his wallet is locked up. Do you think Bill, and Curtis brings up a good point about the Dolphins, they went out and spent money to get Tyreek Hill, draft capital, and then paid a ton of money. Do you think that the Patriots would go out and draft for DeAndre Hopkins, who's going to cost you, 17, 18 million.
T.
Higgins, Mike Evans. Like, do you think that T. Higgins is the perfect example? He's a legit number one, but he's probably going to cost you 17, 18 million. Do you think Robert's going to do that? Or is he going to say, Bill, make it work with these guys?
No, I think that if it's the right player in that position, then Robert Kraft would spend. He's done it before.
But it isn't. When has he done it in the sense of
2 years ago? They spent $142 million.
Yeah, but I don't want to spend money on 6 Bs. I want 2 to 3 As.
Right. And is that an edict coming from Robert? Hey, listen, here's the money, but we need to allocate it to many people rather than one person. Right? So if you're in this position right now and you're looking at a guy like T. Higgins, you could trade for him. And then you got to get him a new deal, very similar to what and if Curtis is built around Mac Jones, you need to get those guys, but those guys are going to cost you. One player is going to take a big chunk out of your cap.
It's also, we keep saying that give him another year. Adam Jones, I was listening to Jones and Mego yesterday, I think. It might have been even the day before. And he was saying at the end of Mac's first season, he started to fall off a bit. So he doesn't believe that it was just this injury and the fact that Matt Patricia and Joe Judge don't know what they're doing. He was saying go back to the end of his first season.
Well, Jones is another noted Mac hater. That doesn't surprise
Realist
me.
and not a hater.
They have the same last name.
People refuse to acknowledge that Mac Jones got you his rookie season to the playoffs and then had an injury.
Did he get you there?
Yes, he did. And he had an absolute. It can't go both ways, Shime. Either he's the problem or he's the solution.
Why,
I've been saying he's a problem.
You can't only blame him when things are bad.
You went both ways when Brady was here.
That's not true.
Yeah, it is. It was like, the only reason why this team is 8-0 and they're good is because of their defense.
I never ever said
Stop
that.
it. That was
now you're putting words.
That
in my
was
mouth.
the narrative that was being pushed.
No, it might have been the narrative by others. It wasn't the narrative.
Yeah.
by
Run the
me.
tape.
Yeah.
So
The only thing going in Greg's mouth today is shrimp from Davio's.
It was, you know what I heard, Curtis, and you'll love this one. Oh, this team, luckily for their defense has won like 7 games because their offense couldn't do nothing. This was the Brady 8-0 year.
Right.
And it was all about the defense. It was Boogeyman 2.0. I mean, I bought into it, but it was people like, oh, this team's only good because of the defense. Now you say the same thing about Mac Jones. Fast forward a few years to his first year making the playoffs. Oh, what do you mean? You got to give the kid credit.
Yeah, I think the one stat that will haunt Mac Jones until he does it is that he has not won a game when the opponent scores over 24 points. So you need to be able to do that.
All right. Well, anyway, it appears maybe Robert Kraft going out of his way to praise Mac Jones over the weekend. Of note, I think.